everyone, this is Nibiru Watcher. It is June 9th, 2017. And I'm going to start this video off to show you what made me a believer in Planet X is what I captured on Starnberg, over Lake Starnberg, based in the western sky, what I believe to be none other than Planet X itself. But it is being obscured through a set of lens arrays. And let's just watch the time lapse. This is still in the archives, okay? I am on here. This is live. Now notice how this morphed into like a round shadowy object and then it suddenly disappears. And next we see the shadow here and here. Let's watch what happens next with this time lapse. That this shadow is not a spot on the lens. It's 2 o'clock in the morning with the moon setting in the eastern sky. What you're going to see next, here's the moon. That is one bright moon. Look at that. 2 planets orbiting on both sides of the moon. Okay, so that, to me, it was pretty epic and drew my attention. Now I want you to notice, yes, you're going to see what appears to be in front of the clouds. And you say, yeah, it's a spot on the lens. But that spot on the lens. How could it be a spot if it's moving? Is it something dangling in front of the camera? You know, I've heard all the arguments. Trust me, I have. And so with that, I want to explain real quick about the lens array and why there are lenses in the first place to hide these planetary objects. Pull them out of focus from your eyes. Pull the focal point away, making them basically invisible, leaving you to see a out of focus planet. And by pulling the object out of focus, it makes it disappear. So, but these are no ordinary lenses. These are ultra thin lenses that JPL had developed. Please go back and watch my last video or the Fake Sun videos. I go in more detail and a quick proof of the lens array, which in my last video is now breaking down. Like I put in my matrix, you can see in this there are no breakdown. Why over Australia so intense? Well, I got another theory for that, but I believe these are basically parked in almost a stationary orbit near and hiding the constellation Orion, where this whole system came and where it's going back to. That's my theory. The pyramids, Egypt, and everything else. And here we can see the overlapping lenses here that we see, which I believe is another reason why we see so with all that being said, let's look at what's happening now in our skies and why they're there. Well, if we draw your attention to another planetary object that we appear to see stars in front of it, but that's what we get when we have a lens in front of it that can diffuse the light, pulling out of focus. We end up seeing an out of focus planet that basically suddenly disappears and reappears and is getting darker in the skies. And I believe that if our sun would ever cross in front of this area of space, we see like these dark halos like I recorded. Let's watch that again. You're going to start seeing these when our fake sun crosses the path of those objects. So we watched this one disappear. We have in the western sky and in the northern sky. You just watch it disappear. Now, here, this one really stood out to me. Now, that might need some more convincing for anybody who is watching this first time. Try and say this is a spider. Well, spiders have 8 legs, and if that thing was directly on the camera, it would be much more distinct. But let's watch this alleged spider, which I believe to be Planet X with its plasma tail now facing down, which it's always facing down. And how come we can't see this spider with his legs pointing the other direction, right? So this was on June 9th, and we can watch this thing basically dance in the sky. And we see the same similar object on a different camera, the shadow being projected because of the out of focus lens array would, I believe it pulls it a focus that would normally landed on the Earth, somewhere lands in mid-sky, almost looking like a hologram. Again, we have almost exact same shape of the same object. And here is the camera here up on a high post right there. What could possibly be in front of that thing? If it was to be directly in front of the lens, there is nothing out there it could possibly be on. Look. What would be out there? What could possibly be on that camera? Next. Here we got the same blob-like object that matches at the same, near the same time, that suddenly appeared and disappeared in the sky. And now we have these three objects that I've caught on two other cameras acting like the same thing. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. I hope that your eyes can see this. But there is an object there. If you can't, go find a friend, because not everybody are physically capable of seeing this round dot. There's an eye test for it. You can find it on YouTube. It's pretty cool. I'll leave a link in the description for that eye test too, to see. So let's go back and watch the time-lapse video of these sudden appearing and disappearing objects in the sky. Why would it suddenly get lighter and darker and suddenly disappear? And I'd say to myself, you know, that could be a web far out there in front of the camera, dingling around. It's obviously not on the lens because it's moving. Is it something caught on a spider web? Well, they'd have to be right in front of that lens if it was, and it would be a lot darker. And if it was something caught on a web and that close to the camera, how did it free itself? And it wouldn't be moving in a huge orbit like we see in this appearing and disappearing dots in the sky. So near the same time and the same direction of the sky, we could see this is facing north. And here we have another camera this camera is facing the west, caught the same image in the night sky on the same night. See, this here was on the 9th, and this was also on the 9th. I believe these to stay in the sky for approximately 3 days. That's why when we get chemtrails, we get 3 days of chemtrails with dark halos like we've never seen before. So let's watch these 3 dark circles appear and reappear instantly, right? Over 30 minutes, gone. Wow. And if anybody wants to catch this stuff, forget time-lapse. You want to stream this stuff, because you can miss stuff between shots. These things are moving fast. You'll miss it if you don't stream it. If it's cloud-like stuff, that's one thing. But look at this. It was only in the frame for a moment. Now let's look closer. Look at this thing. This, to me, really blows me away. This is like the star of the show. Now, I believe this to be 1, 2, 3 planets interconnected with plasma being projected in the sky. And because it's an out-of-focus shadow-like object, that it's pulling in the light from the stars behind it, That's why they appear to be see-through. It's very confusing. That's why I had to show you the lens array to begin with, because this is some crazy stuff, and you can go and visit and see this stuff for your own self. So before I start any video, I have to explain why it is you see it like you see it. And again, we have the same object one day earlier on the 8th, and suddenly appear and disappear. This one took an extra half an hour. So that, to me, are these fast-moving objects. This camera here, let's translate this. I believe to be facing the west. Let's see. Yep, facing the west. Most of these are released in Germany. And then we've got another planetary shadow, I believe is in Germany. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but this one faces the northwest. So most of these objects are in the north and in the west. So if you've got cameras, you want to set them up in these two directions: southwest, northwest, or north. So let's watch this one. Poof, it's gone. Where'd the shadow go? And why the shadow's getting bigger? Now what I like to do, if you guys, you can try and catch the sun that would pass in front of this thing, expect chemtrailing and a dark halo. So, and then I've got one more, but it's very faint, of the planetary shadow being projected. It's out of focus. It's not the object itself, and because it's got a lens and array in front of it, it is why we don't. It's very faint. So if you don't have eyes to see it, go do the eye test. I'll leave a link in the description showing the different hues of shades of color. That is a perfect circle. So how could it be anything natural, like a leaf or a spider, if it's perfectly circular? That isn't something true in nature, except unless it's a planet. And again, some of you may ask, how could it be perfectly still? Doesn't our planet rotate? Oh, I've got a software program I did way back in the archives explaining how objects appear in the sky. Not too many people go back and check it out. I'll leave that to a link in the description of how these objects, that's a lot of links of how and why these planets appear to be still in the sky, but they do have an electric nature to them. So next, at last, I'd like to show you something I caught in the sky in Sacramento with my own eyes, recording it with my iPhone 5. And here you can clearly, well, not clear, but you can see that this was a clear night with a very light chemtrail spray. And this dark object suddenly appeared in the sky. It was visible with the naked eye. And at this portion of the video, you can carefully see these bent legs of this object, one here and here. And I believe at the joint where they bend, I believe to be one of the 4 moons connected by plasma orbiting around this planet. And I think that's what those 3 objects are. So let's watch this. You have to carefully watch it, and you will see that the chemtrail spray is moving and passing in front of the object. And it also, I felt this thing. It was a very ominous feel to it. I couldn't explain. It just had a very strong presence to it, like I'm standing in the wake of a giant magnetic field. And that was nothing like it when you're that close. And you could see that the chemtrails pass in front of it. And it was there. I captured this, and little bit later, caught it here. A little later in the day, it is still there. Now this is like about an hour later. You can see the sun has set. The clouds are now purple. Interesting color, by the way. That we could see that it was still there, still over this chimney. And that was a pretty stunning day for me. And we might see it again as it leaves us. I think this next October, but no one knows for sure. Hope you like this video. Please copy, like, and share. See you at the Lord's Supper. Have a blessed day.